Hello, dear children. I'm so happy that you are here today. Please sit comfortably, quiet your hearts, and listen carefully, because today I want to tell you a true Bible story about a young man who trusted God even when everything around him looked dark and unfair. This story comes from the book of Genesis, chapter 40, and it is about Joseph, a man God loved very much. Joseph had once lived with his family, dreaming big dreams from God. But life had not turned out the way he expected. Even though Joseph chose to do what was right, he was lied about and punished for something he did not do. Because of this, Joseph was thrown into prison. The prison was not a happy place. It was dark, cold, and filled with sadness. Many people would have cried every day or become angry with God. But Joseph did something different. He kept trusting God. And the most wonderful thing was that God did not leave Joseph. Even inside the prison, God was right there with him. Joseph was kind, hardworking, and respectful. He helped others, spoke gently, and did his work faithfully. Soon, the keeper of the prison noticed Joseph's good character and placed him in charge of many of the other prisoners. Joseph was still a prisoner, but God gave him favor even in that difficult place. One day, two very important men were brought into the prison. They were not ordinary prisoners. One was Pharaoh's chief cupbearer, the man who served drinks to the king of Egypt, and the other was Pharaoh's chief baker, the man who prepared food for the king. Pharaoh had become angry with them, so he sent them to prison, and they were placed under Joseph's care. Joseph treated them kindly, just as he treated everyone else. One night, something unusual happened. While they slept in the prison, both the cupbearer and the baker had dreams. These were not ordinary dreams. They were strong dreams that stayed in their minds even after they woke up. When morning came, Joseph noticed that both men looked sad and worried. Instead of ignoring them, Joseph cared enough to ask, "Why do you look so troubled today?" The men sighed and said they had each had a dream, but there was no one to explain what the dreams meant. In those days, dreams were very important, and not understanding them made people afraid. Joseph listened carefully, and then he said something very powerful and very humble. He said that interpretations belong to God, and invited them to tell him their dreams. Joseph knew that wisdom did not come from himself, but from God. The cupbearer spoke first. He told Joseph that in his dream he saw a vine with 3 branches. The branches budded, blossomed, and produced ripe grapes. He picked the grapes, squeezed them into Pharaoh's cup, and placed the cup into Pharaoh's hand. As Joseph listened, God helped him understand the meaning. Joseph told the cupbearer that the 3 branches represented 3 days, and that in 3 days, Pharaoh would restore him to his position. He would once again serve Pharaoh just as he had before. The cupbearer felt relief and hope fill his heart. Joseph then kindly asked the cupbearer to remember him when things went well and to tell Pharaoh that he had been put in prison even though he was innocent. Joseph hoped this might be the way God would bring him out of prison. When the baker saw that the interpretation was good news for the cupbearer, he felt encouraged and shared his dream too. He said that in his dream he was carrying 3 baskets of bread on his head, and in the top basket were baked goods for Pharaoh. But birds came and ate the bread from the basket on his head. As Joseph listened, his heart became heavy. God showed him that this dream had a sad meaning. Joseph still spoke the truth with care and courage. He explained that the 3 baskets meant 3 days, and that in 3 days Pharaoh would punish the baker and his life would be taken. It was hard news to hear, but Joseph did not change God's message. 3 days later, it was Pharaoh's birthday. There was a great celebration in the palace. During the celebration, Pharaoh remembered the cupbearer and the baker. Just as Joseph had said, the cupbearer was restored to his job and returned to serving Pharaoh, while the baker was punished. Everything happened exactly the way Joseph explained, because God's word is always true. Now the cupbearer was free, happy, and busy again. Joseph waited, hoping the cupbearer would remember him and speak to Pharaoh, but days passed and nothing happened. The Bible tells us that the cupbearer forgot Joseph. Joseph remained in prison, still waiting. Even though Joseph was forgotten by people, he was never forgotten by God. God was still watching. God was still planning. God was still working behind the scenes. Joseph continued to trust God, continued to serve, and continued to believe, even when his situation did not change right away. Children, this story reminds us that God is with us everywhere we go, even in places that feel lonely or unfair. It teaches us that doing good is always right, even when others do not notice. It shows us that God gives wisdom and understanding, and that his timing is always perfect. Joseph did not know it yet, but God was preparing something far greater than he could imagine. And just like Joseph, God has a good plan for your life, too. Even when you have to wait, even when things don't make sense, and even when others forget, God never forgets. He is always with you, guiding you, helping you, and loving you every step of the way.